to show them how to use it. So writing their name was the best way to put that into practice. But we also showed them different grips with the hand, and they understood that very quickly. That was good. Here's Claraville again, and one of the things we learned about her that I made note of to send to Michael Mendoza and the others as they do these fitting clinics, because she had just lost her right hand. She's a very tall woman. She has about 20 inches of residual below the elbow, and it was Pastor Masashi who had the insight to realize to fit this cuff below the elbow and shorten these straps made for a much better function for her in this case. And there was another young man, Jean, that also had a long residual below the elbow, and we fitted him below the elbow as well. So that was something that you wouldn't learn except by doing this, that there's some different ways that you can do the adjustment. In this picture you see Pastor David in the center with the glasses. You'll remember him from being here with the club. He very much participated in learning about the strapping here. Pastor Masashi is teaching David and two of the deacons of the church how to adjust the strapping, how to make sure it's on correctly. And they did at least, this was at 10 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday. We came back that evening for a worship service, and they had already fitted 2 more people after the clinic, and have done several more since then. I don't have a recent update. Scott, I don't know, have you talked to Eric about how many they've done?
We got the call about 5 additional, but I've not heard
okay.
on that.
All right. And we kind of agreed that every time they had done 10, they would send me the paperwork so that I could forward it on to Michael, because we're tracking the name, the age, was it left hand, was it right hand, contact information for these folks so they can be followed up on in the future. So that information we were gathering, and they're continuing to do that on the ones that they're doing. Again, here's Pastor Masashi, and as I think about partnership, I have to give him a lot of credit, because he started going to Haiti about 10 years before I did. He's been going down there for almost 20 years, and in the year 2000, he said, hey, you need to come go with me. And so that got me started. That helped our church develop the partnership with Bellevue Salem that enabled us to connect the dots and provide the hands in partnership with you guys. So he's definitely a key player here. I'm glad he was there with me. Again, this is one of the deacons of the church relacing one of the hands. It had been laced incorrectly, and so they really jumped in and figured this out. And so I was very impressed with how the leaders of the church were very much actively involved in the fitting itself, and they will be able to continue to do this long term. This is another picture of where, because of the long residual, we were able to put the cuff below the elbow, and I think that will function a lot better for these folks. Here's Cynthia. She had the biggest smile after receiving a hand. I was very impressed with how happy she was to have been given this as a gift. Now this is Benicia. Benicia was an interesting story, because she was one of the very few people we met who lost their hand before the earthquake. She had lost her right hand in 2005 in an accident, and had not been able to, she had learned how to write with her left hand, but she really enjoyed being able to write with her right hand again for the first time in 5 years. And so she was very happy and excited as well. And then we get to Francois. Francois lost both of his hands just below the elbow in the earthquake. And it was interesting. As I said, we arrived on Friday, and that Sunday morning we had a worship service 6 o'clock in the morning, which is when Haitians have church because it's not hot yet, which that means it's not 100 yet. It's still pretty warm. But Francois was wearing a bright yellow shirt that day so that I couldn't miss him. And he came into the worship service, and he sat right on the front row of the church, and I'm sitting up on the stage looking out, and I see this man with no hands. And I'm thinking, what has his life been like in the last 5 months? How does he even function? And yet here he is at church, and I know when I see him that before I go home, we're going to be able to help him because of the power of the partnership that I believe God put together to allow us to do this. And by the way, Francois's last name in Creole, Dieu don, means God gives. And so he was the recipient of 2 hands. And here you see the pouches that are decorated so creatively. These were packed at University of California at Berkeley And some very creative people out there decorated every one of the pouches and wrote a note on them encouraging the recipient that would get them. And so he was very encouraged. And here he is writing his name. And, oops. Well, let me go on. Let me conclude here. It was very strategic. Eric had already done the legwork to make connections with Louis there in the center, who is the minister for the handicapped in the entire country of Haiti. The right person to know for this partnership to continue and flourish into the future, I believe. And then just a quick word about the man in the foreground with the silver in his hair. His name is Pascal. He's from West Africa, from the country of Togo. He's with a group called Handicapped International. They travel around the world after major disasters and help the local nationals set up handicap clinics, prosthetic labs. We're standing in the middle of a prosthetic lab here, the first in Haiti, specifically focused on legs. The total focus of the prosthetic labs and the national directors is to get people able to walk, and then they'll focus on hands. So this is a great partnership because we have a good answer for hands through the LN4 project, and their focus is on legs. So this international organization, Handicap International, goes into a disaster area, trains the locals how to build prosthetic limbs, and then gets out of the way and goes on to the next disaster. And so they were just getting ready to open 5 more clinics when we were down there across the country. And it's about a 15-day process from the time you come into the door needing a leg to be fitted and to have it turned around and you be mobile. So that's really not too bad, all things considered. So we were able to tour that. Actually, this is on our way to the airport Thursday, July 1st, as we were leaving town right after doing the fitting clinic on the 30th. So, what a partnership. And what a blessing for me personally to be involved with you guys, again, through Gene and through the connection with the Rotary and through having our Haitian brothers come up here back in March after the earthquake, to then be able to go down in June with 100 prosthetic hands to host this fitting clinic. We actually fitted 12 people with 13 hands because we gave Francois 2 of them. And we'll look forward to hearing more stories of how it continues in the future. That's my report. Any questions?
How much does it cost for each prosthetic hand? What's the cost on that?
$50.
Yeah, I was thinking it was $50.
Wow.
Right. Yes?
What's the average lifetime of one of those hands?
That's a great question.
4 to 6 years. I mean, it depends on
So
how
they have
active
to
they
be
are, what they're doing.
replaced
They have to be replaced.
Right. Yes?
Do you send spare parts down and Velcro and all that sort of thing? I was thinking about tropical environment, Velcro and all that.
You know, that's a good question, and that's the minister to the handicap, Luis. He was very interested in kind of having this project as it continues to run through his office, so that they could have good tracking of the patients, so that they could follow up if they needed spare parts. They would know to contact his office and that type of thing. So hopefully, as this project moves forward, we'll have a good linkage with his office as well, because he kind of had that vision of how do we help these people keep these hands working as they continue. Yes?
I guess I was so impressed that it didn't need surgery. So we do a work in the Dominican Republic, and so we're going in October. So I want to get connected. I talked with Jim about
Perfect.
we can take some in October. So there's a medical clinic, but I thought we need surgeons and all that stuff. So that was really impressive.
And to that point about you going in October, this project was brought to my attention a year ago at the International Convention in England. Michael Mendoza, who's from the Pleasant Hill, California club, and I've been in contact with his club. We're in the process right now of trying to put together a mission with members of our club, members of their club, sometime the beginning of next year, between January and March in that time frame. So if anybody has an interest, at least participating in the planning, I mean, we're very, very early on in trying to put this together. Let me know, and we'll just include you in the email group. And it's quite, as Randall can attest to, it's a life-changing experience, isn't it?
Very much so. Very much so.
Any other questions? Well, thank you, Dr. Wood. On behalf of Dublin AM Rotary, I want to thank you for not only coming here today, but for your mission trip. And a book will be dedicated in your name to the library at Daniel Wright Elementary School, and then we have a little 4-way test reminder, the Rotary. Thank you so much.